The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has reached a significant turning point. Recently, Russian forces launched a series of airstrikes, wreaking havoc across several cities in Ukraine. The western city of Ternopil was one of the hardest hit, with 9 lives claimed and dozens more injured in what is being described as one of the deadliest attacks in the region since the beginning of the war. The barrage of missiles and drones aimed at Ukraine came without warning, further escalating an already dire situation. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy confirmed that more than 470 drones and 48 missiles were used in the assault, sending shockwaves throughout the nation and beyond. This devastating attack was followed by yet another strike in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city. At least 32 individuals were wounded, including 2 children, underscoring the indiscriminate nature of these attacks. In addition to the physical toll, the strikes left homes destroyed and thousands of residents displaced. Many families were forced to flee their homes in search of safety as the violence continued to spread. These horrific events come amid ongoing diplomatic efforts to bring an end to the nearly 4-year-long conflict. President Zelenskyy's recent visit to Turkey was intended to serve as a platform for peace talks. The Ukrainian leader's primary goal was to secure an agreement that could pave the way for a ceasefire and ultimately lead to a settlement that would end the proximate, devastating war. However, these diplomatic efforts have encountered significant obstacles. Russia has made it clear that it will not participate in any negotiations. Despite these setbacks, President Zelenskyy pressed forward with his tour, hoping to find international support that could lead to a breakthrough. As Zelenskyy arrived in Turkey, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan offered to host direct talks between the 2 leaders. This meeting in Ankara was seen as a critical moment in the peace process. However, further complications arose when it was announced that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who had initially been expected to join the talks, would not be attending. The absence of a key international player raised questions about the future of the ceasefire negotiations. Still, Turkey has expressed its willingness to facilitate the dialogue. According to officials, the primary focus of the talks will be to establish a lasting ceasefire and to strengthen Ukraine-Turkey relations, which have grown increasingly important in the context of the war. However, despite Turkey's efforts to mediate, no in-person talks have taken place between Kyiv and Moscow since June of this year. The previous meeting, which took place in Istanbul, was marked by limited progress, with the main achievement being the exchange of prisoners of war. International peace efforts, led by the United States, have also been unable to produce substantial results. While the US has provided diplomatic and military support to Ukraine, the war continues with no clear resolution in sight. The lack of meaningful progress is a testament to the complex nature of the conflict, which is fueled by deep political divisions, historical grievances, and a fundamental struggle for power. Amid the continuing violence, Ukraine's allies in Europe have continued to offer support. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez recently met with President Zelenskyy in Madrid as part of the Ukrainian leader's ongoing European tour. The 2 leaders discussed a range of issues, with a particular focus on strengthening Ukraine's air defences, which have been under constant threat from Russian missile attacks. Sánchez announced that Spain would be providing a new military aid package worth €615 million. This new support package includes defensive equipment worth approximately €300 million as well, as additional military supplies designed to help Ukraine defend its territory. In addition to military support, Sánchez reiterated Spain's commitment to helping Ukraine rebuild after the war. The Spanish government has voiced its support for using frozen Russian assets in Europe to fund the reconstruction of Ukraine, a move that has gained traction in several European capitals. Prime Minister Sánchez remarked, "I have shared with President Zelenskyy that over the next month, Spain will mobilize a new military support package for Ukraine worth €615 million. He added that this aid would bolster Ukraine's defense capabilities, allowing the country to better withstand Russia's ongoing offensive. Sanchez's visit to Kyiv also served as a reminder of the continued importance of international solidarity in the face of Russia's aggression. As Ukraine prepares for an uncertain future, the support from European countries like Spain will play a crucial role in strengthening the country's ability to defend itself. This assistance is particularly important as Ukraine seeks to rebuild its military capabilities while also addressing the needs of its civilian population, who have been severely impacted by the conflict. Despite the ongoing support from European nations, the situation on the ground remains critical. The human toll of the conflict continues to rise, with thousands of lives lost and countless others displaced. The destruction of infrastructure and homes has created a humanitarian crisis that will take years to fully address. Meanwhile, international peace efforts continue to falter, and the prospect of a resolution to the war seems increasingly distant. As Ukraine presses forward with its diplomatic efforts, the world watches with bated breath. President Zelenskyy's recent meetings in Turkey and Spain demonstrate that Ukraine is not willing to give up on peace, but the road ahead is fraught with challenges. With Russia's refusal to engage in negotiations, the conflict looks set to continue with devastating consequences for both Ukraine and the broader international community. In this context, the role of international mediators like Turkey remains crucial. The country's willingness to host talks and engage in diplomatic efforts offers hope that some form of dialogue might eventually emerge. However, without the participation of key players like Russia, it is unclear whether any meaningful progress can be made. For now, the conflict in Ukraine shows no signs of abating. As both sides dig in for what could be a long and protracted war, the international community must continue to explore every avenue for peace, whether through direct negotiations or increased military support. The world's leaders must remain focused on ending the suffering and bringing about a lasting peace for Ukraine and its people. In the coming months, the situation in Ukraine will remain a critical point of focus for global diplomacy. With no clear end in sight, the stakes are higher than ever, and the need for decisive action has never been more urgent.